Hello and welcome to another little tidbit with Mandy. What am I going to say today? I don't really know. Look, I was actually thinking, because, you do get to a point where you're going, what the fuck am I going to talk about today? And I was just thinking, because I do think a bit, and I was contemplating back this whole concept of dying, like everyone's scared of dying, but, really. But when you're a comedian, it's sort of part of your role, really. Like, unless you've actually died spectacularly, like a number of times, you haven't evolved, and you haven't had the good clubbing with the humility stick. I mean, you really have to fucking suffer. You got to take it in the ass and in the ear and in the eye and everywhere that you can take it. That's where you got to take it. And it's kind of hard because, it's kind of like a death. And I don't know, there have been times, I have to admit, where I've actually thought that actual real dying would probably be a little bit easier than the actual comedy dying. But you do get over it, And so I often think, when I'm teaching comedy, I can teach people how to do comedy, but how do I prepare anyone for that, for the fall, how to cope with the fall? Because these days, people's resilience levels are so low. They can't even cope, with not getting what they want at Aldi, or they can't cope with, not getting someone to like an Instagram photo. Like, oh my God. So how are they going to cope with like a whole room full of people actually really fucking hating you violently, like really wanting to kill you, hating your guts? I mean, and it's pretty intense when it happens. You're going like, oh, that's a little bit full on, that kind of hatred. Like, whoa, it's pretty intense. Like, when I take that on. So how do you give someone the ability to not take it on, or to develop a sort of a form of denial and lack of insight that you just don't take it personally? I mean, that's quite a skill. And I don't know if the average person, is really up to that, or whether they want to learn how to do that, because it's kind of a weird thing. I actually think Christ would have been, like, if he'd come again, I would love to have him in my comedy class. He would be a really good comedian, because he kind of had a lot of material. Let's face it, he had a heap of material. The whole kind of didn't know who his father thing was awesome. He was really clanked for it. The virgin birth, I mean, fuck, what you could do with that. If you were born out of, a woman that, you go like, fuck, mum was really pulling some things there, but, maybe not. I think he had so much, and like, he was already doing solo shows, like the Sermon on the Mount. That was a big show, and I think he wasn't selling tickets, and that was probably his problem. And he knew how to deal with hecklers, and he had some pretty big heckles. I think, getting crucified is a pretty major kind of thing for an audience to do to a person when they're doing their show. And he did get a comeback. It took 3 days, but he got the comeback. He did the whole resurrection thing. I went, that is an awesome comeback. It's hard to knock that, and the whole kind of, Holy Trinity thing. I went, wow, that's a really good gig. But it is funny, isn't it? Because that whole concept of, besides Christ, of being a comedian and dying, it's just that part of that, everyone knows what it's like to go to work. Well, some people may not, but if you have been to work, and at some point in work when people there don't like you, or you have conflict, and that thing in the workplace that, it's not going to be very nice. But, what happens in a workplace, though, is that if your colleague is going to give you shit, they'll at least do it privately, because they're not going to do it publicly, because it could be used in an inquiry. So at least it's done privately. But when you're a comedian, workplace bullying is actually part of the job description. In fact, it's expected. And it's not just workplace bullying, it's done in public, because public humiliation is actually part of the job. And, and from very early on, I do remember in my 30 years of performing, one of the early ones was when I went on stage in between this, I think, bands for a university O week, and someone yelled out, "Show us your cunt," which was really, I suppose quite a nice way of, saying, "Hi, how are you? Welcome." And, I was a little bit shocked, and I didn't know what to say. So I said, I probably should have shown them, it would have been over, but I didn't. I was stupid. And I just went, "I'll show us your cock." Well, it was like a Mexican wave of penises. They all came out. It was frightening. I didn't handle that so well. That was pretty terrifying. It was like performing to the pack, the convention of pack rapists. And a lot of those people that were at university now have gone on to be doctors, lawyers, high court judges, probably and pack rapists as well. But, that was one of the early stages. And I just remember having everyone screaming at me, wanting to kill me, being chased out, yelling, lesbian, lesbian, go home and lick each other out. And after I stopped crying and shaking and got out of the fetal position, I remember thinking, yeah, that was okay. I think I did all right. I could do that again. It's true. I thought, I can give that another crack. Clearly, I'm either high levels of resilience or I have a sort of a bit of a borderline, like a bit of a mental illness where I have no actual insight into realising that was not really a very good or healthy situation. And since then, you know, in the career, as far as dying on stage, you don't know when this deaths happen all the time. I've been hit in the head with a beer can, had blood running down and my face, and you know, I pushed through. I didn't go off stage, not because I was really being a trooper, but because I needed the $30 to get to the end. I've had a hippie at a peace gathering call me a pig. I've been emailed by someone after a gig who told me I was very disappointing. I've been contacted by someone at work who's rung me to tell me I was fat and I should walk more. I've really appreciated the advice. I've had all sorts of insults, including someone recently who messaged me telling me I was a slut and I should close my legs. And I thought, since I've blocked Mum, I haven't had any more of those messages. But I sort of feel that dying, you know, in a sense, as like it's kind of part of my workplace bullying, but in a sense it's become part of this very important part of what you do in my job, which is kind of weird, is that my job involves workplace bullying. And death is part of it. So I'm not scared of dying anymore. What I am scared of is living. And that's why I have so much to talk about, because I'm a neurotic, anxious mess. So there you go, okay? So if you'd like to do a course with me, it's coming up soon, you know, at Adult Education, or, you know, Byron College. If you'd like to learn how to put yourself in really highly dangerous situations and lose the ability to fear, and also no longer need, you know, to be liked by people you've never met. And, you know, if you want to attract people that you've never met to hate your guts, then come and join me, because I'll show the magic, hey?